Did that make sense? I hope so, because you just saw the entire plot of Tekken 2 cut down to about 2 minutes. Okay, so I'm being a little facetious. Though this intro does touch on plot points much better than the original Tekken did. But we're getting ahead of ourselves here. Let's talk briefly about how Tekken 2 came to be. Tekken 2 took about a year to develop. A lot of the bones of the first game are still there. You still have the 4-button limb system, the moon jumps, and the infinite floors. It still plays the same, but better. Movement isn't quite as stiff. Sidestepping makes its debut here, but it still doesn't feel quite like modern Tekken. Not yet anyway. The visuals have taken a nice bump in quality. The characters aren't as blocky, and the lighting and stages have a better look overall. There are 3 main versions of Tekken 2. Version A was the initial arcade release in Japan. Of the 3, it's easily the roughest, as it was closer to the feel of the original Tekken. Character balance was kinda fucked, and some characters were lacking in moves. One major difference is the ability to play as hidden characters in the arcade version of the game. So Lee, Wang, Anna, and the other extra characters are only playable in the PS1 version of Tekken 1. They are unplayable through regular means in the arcade version. Tekken 2's arcade version has them playable, but there's a catch. They are released on a timer. This means that the machine's internal clock would automatically unlock a new character every so often, thus giving people a reason to come back and play it in hopes of seeing a new character to mess around with. Version B is more refined and improves the game feel overall. Damage balancing, improved juggling, hit stun tweaks, and general bug fixes finally make Tekken 2 feel like an improvement over the last game. This is the arcade version that we got over here in the States. There was an updated version of B that includes even more tweaks and improvements called version C or D, depending on how it's listed in the test menu. In these versions, the full roster is unlocked from the start. The third and final version is the PS1 port, which is an even more refined update to version B. It took some time to get here, but they made it. So that's all that went down IRL, but what happened to Kazuya and the others in-universe? That was creepy. 2 years have passed since Kazuya tossed his dad down a mountain to his alleged death. During that time, Kazuya has made the most of his time as head of the Mishima zaibatsu. All of his activities are including, but not limited to, kidnapping, extortion, ordering assassinations, smuggling endangered animals, an attempted military coup, genetic engineering, and just being a dick in general. Kazuya's ultimate goal was world domination, and in his eyes, nobody was going to tell him differently. So, he does what any guy feeling himself does, and starts another King of Iron Fist tournament to show the world how much of a badass he is. This turns out to be a bad idea that comes back to burn Kazuya in a major way. But before we talk about that, let's talk about the roster. Everybody from the first game returns alongside a few new characters.
Paul Phoenix.
In the last tournament, he managed to defeat Kuma, but lost in the finals afterward. He enters the second tournament hoping to go all the way.
Martial Law.
During the time between the first and second tournament, Law has opened his own dojo. Unfortunately, his dojo is attacked by the Taekwondo expert, Baekdo-san, for unknown reasons. Law enters the tourney for a shot at revenge.
Nina Williams.
This time, she's in it to assassinate Kazuya. However, she's more interested in settling things with Anna.
Yoshimitsu.
During the 2 years after the first tourney, Yoshimitsu lost his arm in a botched laboratory raid. His life was saved by a scientist named Dr. Boskanovich, by the same technology he was going to steal. In the time leading up to the second tournament, the doctor gets captured by Kazuya. Yoshimitsu enters the tournament to rescue him.
Jack 2.
An upgraded model of the original Jack from the last tournament, made by Dr. Boskanovich. During one of his missions, Jack rescues a young girl from a war zone named Jane. He enters the tournament once he learns that his creator has been abducted.
King.
Although he manages to win some money for his orphanage, one of the orphans dies in his care. King then becomes a depressed drunk, spiraling out of control until Armor King finds and rehabilitates his friend in time for the tournament, where he hopes to win and bring honor to his orphanage.
Michelle Chang.
Kazuya knows that Heihachi failed to steal Michelle's pendant in the last tournament, so he tries to obtain it for himself. He kidnaps Michelle's mother to force her to enter the tournament.
Lei Oolong.
He is the super cop of the Hong Kong police force. His partner was killed on a flight that mysteriously crashed. However, one of the survivors responsible has ties to Kazuya, so Lei enters the tournament to track him down.
Kunimitsu.
She failed to get Michelle's pendant in the last tournament. This time, she has her sight on Yoshimitsu's sword, which is said to have mystical properties.
Anna Williams.
Anna's rivalry with Nina has only gotten worse. After learning that Nina is planning to assassinate Kazuya, Anna gets hired as a bodyguard for Kazuya. Whether it was her idea or Kazuya's is unclear.
Armor King.
Armor King has become big in the underground fighting scene. He hears about King's struggle with depression and helps to rehabilitate him in time for the tournament. Armor King hopes to have a rematch with his comrade.
Kuma.
Paul defeated him in the last tournament. Realizing that he needs to get stronger, Kuma goes off into the mountains with Heihachi to train. He enters the tournament for another shot at Paul.
Ganryu.
Even though he got beaten by Yoshimitsu in the last tournament, Kazuya was still impressed with him to the point that he hired Ganryu as a bodyguard. During the last tournament, Ganryu fell in love with Michelle at first sight. Ganryu plans to confess his love to her at this tournament.
Li Jiaolei.
Li's defeat in the last tournament wore heavily on him. He goes off into the mountains to train, but he hits a wall. Li's training has hit a dead end until he gets help from Wang Jinrei to hone his skills. He enters the tournament for a shot at Kazuya.
Bruce Irving.
A Muay Thai expert with ties to the underground fighting scene in Thailand. After getting a hit placed on him after winning a fixed fight, he gets attacked on his flight home by the hitman. This gets the attention of an undercover Hong Kong police officer also on the flight, and the three face off. The fight ends just as their plane crashes, killing everyone but Bruce. Kazuya learns about Bruce and rescues him from the jungle to hire him as a bodyguard for the tournament.
Heiku Tosan.
A Taekwondo champion with a dark past. When somebody learns of his history, they blackmail Bake into attacking martial law's dojo.
Roger. Alex.
A kangaroo and a fucking dinosaur genetically created through experience by Dr. Boskanovich when Kazuya abducted them. Kazuya hopes to use these guys for military purposes.
Wang Jinlei.
Wang enters the tournament to fulfill Jinpachi Mishima's wish of bringing honor and justice to the Mishima clan. If Lee is unable to defeat Kazuya, then he will do it himself.
Prototype Jack.
After being destroyed by Jack in the last tournament, he is rebuilt and upgraded by Boskanovich under Kazuya's orders. Prototype Jack wants to fight Jack again at this tournament to see who is the superior machine once and for all.
Heihachi Mishima.
After surviving his defeat at the hands of Kazuya, Heihachi climbs up the cliff he got tossed from and takes Kuma to the mountains to train. When he hears that Kazuya is hosting another tournament, he enters so he may take revenge on his son and reclaim his empire.
Jun Kazama.
An officer from a wildlife protection agency. While her goal is to arrest Kazuya for capturing endangered animals, she is drawn to him and hopes to free him from the mysterious evil power that surrounds him.
Devil. Angel.
The Devil gene is the main reason Kazuya survived his fall as a child. Devil has strengthened Kazuya considerably, but at the cost of his compassion. There may be a separate entity, an angel, that embodies the bit of good that remains within Kazuya's soul, but nobody knows for sure. And that's the roster. We have a much bigger jump in characters in this game as opposed to the first one. Same also goes for the modes too. Arcade versus and options returned from the last game. New this time is Survival, Team Battle, Time Attack, and Practice Mode. In Survival mode, you choose your character and fight against the CPU endlessly until you lose. If you lose any health, you can gain some of it back at the end of the match if you win. Team Battle. You and your opponent can choose a team of up to 8 characters. When one character loses, the next one will fight the winning character. This continues until one team is eliminated. Time Attack. A speed run where you try to complete the arcade mode as fast as possible with your chosen character. You can't pause, you can't change characters, and all option changes are reset to default when playing this mode. Practice Mode. This is where you lab your character. Oddly enough, practice modes weren't quite a staple yet in fighting games. And there you have it. What we have here is the bare minimum of fighting game modes. If your game doesn't have at least these modes, then you fucked up. Speaking of fucked up, let's see how this tournament went down. Yoshimitsu defeats Kunimitsu and retains his sword. Yoshimitsu goes on to rescue Dr. Boskanovich with the helicopter arm he made for him. Lei defeats Bruce, but he manages to escape before Lei can capture him. King and Armor King have a rematch. The outcome is unknown, but my hand cannon says Armor King takes it. Ganryu gets rejected by Michelle. Lee is defeated by Heihachi. Law defeats Beck and reclaims honor for his dojo. Beck later reconciles with his past and finds peace. Nina's battle of Anna keeps her from being able to assassinate Kazuya. She is captured by Kazuya's forces and used as a test subject for a cryosleep program that Boskanovich is working on. Not wanting to leave her sister alone, Anna volunteers for the same program too, wishing to be awoken when Nina is. Paul manages to get far enough in the tournament to fight Kazuya, but is unable to participate in the match because of a horrible traffic jam. He is forced to forfeit. Jack 2 defeats Prototype Jack, but is later destroyed by a satellite laser in front of Jane. Roger and Alex might have fought somebody important, I don't know, probably not. They go and do their own thing after the tournament ends. Wang and June face off. We don't know the victor, but June seems more likely than not. June then decides to go and be one with nature. Michelle rescues her mother and Kuma got beat by Paul, again. Heihachi fights Kazuya in the finals of the tournament. Kazuya's devil gene may or may not have manifested during this fight. If so, he would have had an inner conflict between Devil and Angel thanks to his relationship and involvement with June during the events of the tournament. Either way, Heihachi defeats Kazuya and throws his ass into a volcano because mountains are so last season. And that's the end of the tournament. That leaves us with just enough time to talk about endings. The endings this time aren't as janky as the last game. It's amazing how much better Namco got at developing 3D in just the span of a year. Most of these endings are non-canon like Kunimitsu or Lee's. Some are canon like Wang or Armor King's. Most of them are just them living life doing random shit. There are callbacks like King, Kuma, and Kazuya's ending. Hell, Kazuya's ending just has to be seen to be believed. Ugh, pour one out for Kazuya. Now that Heihachi has control of the Mishima zaibatsu again, surely he's gonna settle down, mellow out, and not cause problems for anybody else. Unfortunately, Heihachi is a dick.